We're rolling. It's another weekly video. Welcome back to the Wine Steward. We can give you a very hearty, almost embracing welcome back to the Wine Steward now that we actually have the mezzanine wine bar somewhat open. We want to keep it slightly under control, but yes, we welcome you back upstairs to come and taste with us as of this evening. We can have you up for a nice glass of wine. We're going to put all kinds of really cool things on the menu. Perhaps even this will happen. So that is our continuing announcement. We started to say it a week or two ago, and we're easing back into this whole wine bar thing. So come help us practice, be a wine bar. Again, it's taking some practice. Lost the muscle memory, but it's quickly coming back. I've got this part down already. So this smells good. This is up here because I want to tell you about it a little bit later. I want to tell you about many of the 12, I won't digress and tell you about all 12, but I'd like to tell you about many of the April monthly wine club wines that are available as of today. Ta-da! Yes, the big announcement of the month is that wine club members, all hundreds and hundreds of you lovely people who support our cause that way by getting 2 bottles a month, your wines are ready to pick up. So I'm going to describe some of those in this video. And I've already let you know that the wine bar is open. Some of these wines, I think it would be a great, pretty business savvy thing to do to actually put some of these wine club wines on the actual wine bar menu for this weekend. So as of tonight, some of you club members will actually be tasting what's in store for you by referencing the menu. You know, I want to tell you about all these things, but first, because I got here rather early, I think I showed up at about 7 o'clock in order to write the monthly wine club notes. Every wine that we submit to you, all 12 of these per month, get a full page of my gibberish. And I get here early, so sometimes I make no sense whatsoever because I'm kind of groggy. And I need a break. I'm having this video with you. It's time for something else. In fact, after all that wine writing, I'm ready for Sekt. I would like to have Sekt now. So what the hell am I talking about? I am talking about German sparkling wine called Sekt. It's spelled with an S, which is weird, isn't it? But that's all right. So that's the word. I am so in the mood for Sekt, and here it is. So let's get this weird sounding wine off of here and put this more interesting sounding wine, if we can say it right. This is Bischoflicher Weinguter Trier Schatzhofberger Riesling Brut 2016. That part's in English. And it is Sekt. It is, frankly, the best Sekt I've ever had. I had it just yesterday. I want to have it again. I feel so vigorous lately. So here, let's tell you about the fact that all German sparkling wine is Sekt. It's simply their name for sparkling wine. And, you know, they can't call it champagne. It's not from Champagne, though the champagne producers did have a lot to do with inspiring Germany to make fantastic bubbles. Well, sometimes the German bubbles are not that great because they're made in what we call the Charmat method. It's the same way Prosecco was done, bubbled up in a great big tank. And it's good, it's serviceable, it's inexpensive. But the really good Sekt, if you want good Sekt, I want some good Sekt. I need to prepare for this. I'm going to have Sekt right now. I forgot my big gold chain. Just getting in the mood. That's one button too many, isn't it? This is a family show. Sorry. Okay, here we go. This is the best Sekt I've ever had. I can't repeat the name. I probably didn't even say it right. I'm just going to call it Bischoflicher Sekt. Riesling made the hard way, made the champagne way. In other words, this fermentation occurred, the second fermentation, it happened the champagne way. Méthode traditionnelle, we're supposed to call it méthode champenoise. We say, if we want to piss off the people in Champagne, it's 100% Riesling. It is aged on the lees during that second fermentation for no fewer than 2 years. It is brut, it is dry. If you're afraid of that R word, Riesling, I know, it's rather crazy smelling sometimes. In fact, in the same appointment where I had this, I had a still Riesling, in other words, a wine that was not bubbled up. And it, boy, there it was. There's that Mosel diesel or petrol quality coming out of that Riesling. This one, it's very muted. I mean, I like the Riesling that can be extravagant that way. But in this case, I think there's a broader audience for this wine because it's vaguely Riesling and a sense of perhaps creaminess and yeastiness based on the 2 years that it spent on its own lees. Do you know what lees are? They're dead yeast cells. It's a little more glamorous to call them lees, don't you think? Oh yeah, but they confer a wonderful flavor of like baked bread or bread crust or brioche, sometimes we say. It's a nice little yeasty nuance along with the vibrant fruit that this Riesling 2016 is doing. This is the best Sekt I've ever had. I think I'm gonna have Sekt again in a minute. All right, we must move on, but we might go back to that. I like Sekt. Let's keep that out in front of you because you need to know about it. So that'll just haunt you for the rest of this video. All right, let's talk about the Wine Club wines. Actually, one more pre-Wine Club wine dissertation wine I want to tell you about. Crack this sucker open and tell you that we just brought in, as of today, the best Kiwi, that is New Zealandish Sauvignon Blanc I've had in ages. This is the 2020, very fresh, Stoneleigh Sauvignon Blanc from the greatest, arguably the greatest Sauvignon Blanc region of New Zealand called Marlborough. You know, a wine called Cloudy Bay burst onto the scene back in the 1990s, at least per our reckoning of it. This wine takes me to that wine. In other words, this is Kiwi Sauvignon Blanc that certainly represents the wine type, which to me can often be too much of itself, too much of a good thing, too noisy, sometimes too much canned asparagus or green bean or even jalapeno pepper, capsicum we call it if we want to sound fancy. This wine is bastante, it's enough, it's not too much. It is a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc that just kind of speaks at this volume. It's really pretty. Like I said, I can drink this. There's a lot of Kiwi Sauvignon Blanc I take one sip of after a furtive sniff and I reject it. It's too much. I invite you to come back to Kiwi Sauvignon Blanc, to New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, its claim to fame, and check out this wine, Stoneleigh 2020. It's brilliant. Great for a warm day. We're gonna have a hot weekend. It's looking like the weather's going to accommodate this wine right here. So check that out. I'm gonna have Sekt again. Yes. Oh, I love Sekt. Back to it. Okay, Wine Club members, what should you look forward to this month? I'm not going to describe all 12 wines, but you who get 2 bottles of wine from us a month, you get notes about the wine, you get 10% off everything you're buying here at the Wine Steward. I mean, we're giving everything away around here, aren't we? Let's tell you about this guy. Brilliant label. It looks pretty cool, doesn't it? This is taking us to the Adriatic coast of Italy. This is where, in fact, wild sheep used to roam. Sheep in Italian is pecora. Pecora, they used to roam and ravage the vineyards, and finally all of the growers got upset about losing their grapes every year because the pecora were eating them, and they named their favorite vines the pecorino vines because that's what the sheep like to eat the most. So they cut all these sheep, they imprisoned them and forced them into servitude and forced them to make pecorino cheese. And once a sheep would make 100 wheels of pecorino cheese, it was finally released, but with a shock collar. So they could keep them under control. So they didn't put them to death, they just put them to work and then let them go and zap them once in a while whenever they approached the pecorino vines again. Of course, that's all bullshit, but this is not. This is a 92-pointer, in other words, 2 different forces in the wine press out there. You would recognize the names. We won't name them now because we might get sued, but at any rate, 92 points by 2 different great ones out there. We didn't care. We liked it before we even knew about the score. And here it is. Actually, that's the Sauvignon Blanc. Here it is. I am actually going to rinse my glass out because the Sauvignon Blanc is such a potent, strong, eccentric wine, even though it's a more turned down one, that pecorino will be totally wiped out by having some of that in the glass. Why? Because this pecorino is not about loud. It's not big and rich and buttery and oaky. It's not even all that ridiculously flavored. Is rather discreet. It's evasive. It eludes. It flirts, and then it runs away. And that's why this wine is great. That's why this wine got 92 points. Not because it's a loudmouth, but because it's quiet. It's evasive. Perhaps green melon, perhaps citrus, perhaps white, nearly ripe apricots. Are there white apricots? How about white nectarines? Let's do that. It's delicious, it's refreshing, and it's all about this coming weekend, which will warm up and have us in the mood for delicious white wine. I got to go to this, visit this winery some time ago. Umani Ronchi is the name of the producer. And the producer, whereas this wine comes from Abruzzo, which is southern Adriatic coast, just north of Puglia, this producer, that's their project in Abruzzo, but the main thing that they work with, their main production is up in the Marche, just north, on the Adriatic coast, north of Abruzzo. We visited the producer there. It was the only rainy day on our trip, so unfortunately we didn't get to see the beautiful coast and the scenery there. However, they took us to like a hunting lodge and gave us a classic Adriatic feast, which consisted entirely of deep fried everything. Deep fried, I mean, even rosemary twigs, everything they could deep fry, they did. And yet it wasn't heavy, it wasn't oily, it was made very much in a delicate tempura quality. And all of that food, deep fried this and this and this and this, went amazingly with this pecorino. I highly encourage you, once you get your bottle, you White Wine Club members, to apply that if you're good at doing the tempura thing. If not, can you make a grilled cheese sandwich? I bet you can. Perhaps you saw the post that we showed you earlier this week, displaying after 3 tries, our favorite grilled cheese sandwich to go with this wine. It uses 2 cheeses that we sell here, the Comté, which is Gruyere if you want. In Switzerland they call it Gruyere, in France it's Comté. Basically the same cheese from the Alpine foothills. That gives you the ooey gooey. What we thought we might do is enhance the texture, give it a little variety in the mouthfeel with some chèvre style goat cheese. So we used Ms. Naturelle or Miss Natural from the domestic Humboldt Fog cheesery. So that was a beautiful extra texture. Those 2 cheeses combined made for a hell of a grilled cheese sandwich. That worked really nicely with this pecorino. You may want to try that. Actually, you need to, because we need to sell the cheese. So, that's tasty wine. Very refreshing, too easy to drink. Now, we try to find you winemakers. We try to find you wine club members delicious wine every month. I taste probably hundreds of wines in order to find a dozen that we end up choosing. It's not just about quality, however. We really like it when we taste a good wine from a longtime friend. And in fact, Adam Webb, longtime friend who has helped us make our own house wine here at the store, the Plus de Vie, Adam Webb gets not one, but both of the California Wine Club. I gotta get zacked off of my mind there. It's 2 bottles of red California Wine Club from our friend Adam Webb, small producer. Both of these are made in amounts of under 200 cases, and that's what's cool. We get to buy like 10% of what Adam made of each of these wines. One is called Pop Rocks, one is called Whole Hog, and apologies to you vegans out in the crowd, but you can see that there's some butchery on that label. These wines are very related in that they both use, well, they're related in that Adam made them both, but they both use Rhone varieties traditionally grown in the Rhone Valley in the south of France. In other words, GSM. So, why have 2 wines? Because they are different from each other, because each emphasizes, excuse me, it's the Zect. Each emphasizes a different Rhone grape. This is Pop Rocks, and you may see that Pop is spelled P-A-P-E, if you can see that label at all. Pop Rocks. It's Adam's clever way of saying that he was inspired by Châteauneuf-du-Pape to make this wine. What is Châteauneuf-du-Pape? That's a region in the Rhone that makes red wine based on what grape? Anyone? Bueller? Grenache. Grenache is the main driver here, but it also has Syrah and Mourvedre, as you'd expect. So it's a GSM plus C. There's a little bit of Cinsault in here too. Cinsault, incidentally, that comes from the Bechtold vineyard in Lodi, which it has been discovered is the oldest Cinsault vineyard in the entire world. It's not in the deep south of France. No, the oldest Cinsault vineyard It was misidentified for about 100 years. They thought it was something else, but now they know it is Cinsault. It's 130 years old, growing on its own roots in the sandy soils of Lodi. Some of that's happening in here. I'm going to refer to that wine again in a minute, or that vineyard, I should say. At any rate, Pop Rocks, of the two, is the more obviously Southern Rhone inspired, based on being Grenache based. And because it's Grenache based, it's going to be more cheery, more crunchy, and a little more like pie filling, perhaps. The fruit of a cherry pie will be happening here for you. It's kind of a medium-bodied red, medium to bigger. It's not trying to be huge. Grenache doesn't try to be huge. It tries to charm you. And this does. I love this little wine. Okay, so how about something bigger? This is Adam's other wine going to the California Wine Club, and it's called Whole Hog. By the way, both wines are from Cochon. His winery, he has too many winery names. Sometimes we call him Odisea, but his main brand is Cochon, and that means pig, actually. He has decided to identify many of his wines as coming from Cochon because they, in fact, come from Cochon. In the south of France and in other parts of the French winemaking world, an oversized barrel is called a cochon, or a pig. It's just a hog or whatever. It's the typical nickname for a larger than a standard size barrel. Standard size barrel is 225 liters, right about there, 225, 228, or what we call 60 gallons. And a cochon would be something more like 90 gallons and bigger. He likes to apply his Rhone wines to that bigger barrel because they don't get as much oak flavor to the wine, and they're also a less oxidative environment. That's very important for Rhone varieties, especially Grenache. At any rate, here we are. This is no longer Grenache based. We're going to the Whole Hog, which implies this wine's going to be bigger and darker. Did I pour it yet? I think I did. You know, I'm going to make sure. I'm starting to lose it. I think I need Absent. Okay, Whole Hog, perhaps for the second time. Definitely a darker wine, definitely. Why? Because it's over 60% Syrah. And Syrah is a darker, bolder wine. However, this is grown in a cool area of California, the Bennett Valley in the Sonoma area. And this is from a vineyard called Cardiac Hill, because you could possibly have a cardiac arrest by scaling the slope of this particular vineyard. Oh man. This is a little more serious. You might want to drink the Pop Rocks first, like earlier in the meal, and then graduate to this. Like once the entree comes out, hopefully that entree is protein, if you're into protein. And it could well be lamb. It could be hog. You never know. All right. 2 wines from Adam for the California Wine Club wine. You know, while we're on the subject of Adam, we're going to jump out of the club thing real quick for this commercial announcement. As of tomorrow, we will have his Rosé 2020, the brand new stuff. I have it now, but this is the sample bottle, of which you may not have any. I'm sorry. This is going home with me. At any rate, this is going to be 90% Cinsault from that Bechtold vineyard, the oldest Cinsault vineyard in the entire world. It's kind of, I think it's the best rosé that Adam has made, and it's ironic because it was the worst year for Adam to try to access good grapes. He always includes this Bechtold vineyard Cinsault in his rosé, but it's usually 50%. The other components, which are Rhone varieties, come from maybe the Dry Creek region, here and here and here. What happened in 2020? A lot of smoke, a lot of fire, right? And a lot of people were not able to use the fruit that they were planning on. And so where the Bechtold vineyard didn't have any smoke issues, as is extremely evident in this beautiful, very Provence-style rosé, other sources that Adam would typically reference for his rosé were totally smoked out, and he couldn't do it. So 90% Cinsault, 10% I think Grenache, and this wine is so pretty. I am transported straight to one of Adam's favorite places in the world, which is in fact Provence. He often takes his family to stay for at least a whole week in Bandol, France, on the Mediterranean coast. This takes me there. It's lovely. 5 cases get here tomorrow. There's a half bottle here today, and it's mine. All right, I want some more Zect. Oh, I've got some here. Oh, man. Great Zect. Back on topic. All right, let's tell you about a wine that the Wine Adventure Wine Club is getting. The Wine Adventure Wine Club, the folks, you members are spending $39.99, including tax, by the way, for 2 bottles of very, very good red wine from not here. In other words, anywhere else. So it's we have another club that gives you domestic wine. That's called the California Wine Club at the same price. We just discussed Adams wines. This takes us this time to the Southern Hemisphere, to Chile, for Chile's benchmark, trademark, claim to fame, and sometimes not very good grape called Carmenere. Not very good because sometimes the growers don't necessarily understand how to farm it correctly. This is correctly done Carmenere. I'm really pleased with it. Carmenere is kind of like what I was saying about New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. It can be too much of itself. It can have, in fact, sometimes for the same reasons, called pyrazines, but we won't get technical. Let's just say that this is good Carmenere that we gave you in your wine club a very long time ago, and it's good to have it back. So here is the Santa Carolina Reserva de la Familia Carmenere. Carmenere, the lost Bordeaux grape, we often call it. I won't digress. You've heard this story before, but look at the color. Man, that's remarkable. Beautiful color. Carmenere is speaking in the nose, but not too loudly. It is well behaved. Wow, it's lovely. I think that unsuccessful Carmenere smells like a green bell pepper, whereas successful Carmenere should have connotations of roasted red bell pepper. Like once it's got flame on it, and once it's sweeter as a pepper instead of that green shit. So this is good shit. Very classy. We can't always say that Carmenere is classy. This is classy. Same way that Stoneleigh Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand turns things down, is it reserved in a very nice way. So is this Carmenere. I think you guys are going to love this and come back for more. Yeah, we can't tell you about all 12 wines. I would like to mention, however, the 2 bottles that are going to land in the bags or boxes of the Red Collector Club. The Red Collector Club is our most expensive club. However, a lot of you folks want to buy some wine that you like. You might go home and drink the bottle that we hand you, but you're doing it to consider what you might want to cellar. So as you come back while we still have some of the wine and buy more and put it down. You kind of take a reading and say, okay, how long is this going to age? What does Jim say in his notes? And you know, I have my recommendations, but you've got your palate. So you can make the determination, what Red Collector Club wines would you run home and drink, probably with a ribeye steak, and then head right back here and buy more of. These 2 should be on your list. The really cool thing is I didn't even realize it. I did not plan it. But this wine from Trinchero, the Mario's Cabernet by Trinchero 2016, is made by Mario. It's not named for that Mario. It's actually named for Mario Trinchero, but it's made by a guy named Mario who's married to a woman named Anna. Their last name is Monticello. Anna is also a winemaker, and she made this. I didn't plan this. Isn't this cool? I mean, it's like the planets aligned, and we are giving you a wine by husband and a wine by wife. And they're wonderful Cabernets, both from the Napa Valley. This one is a 16. It's got 2 years on this one. So what do we anticipate from that? Perhaps that this wine is more ready to drink, and it is. This is a lovely, almost verging on cocktail style Cabernet you can drink on its own. It's a little more friendly than Tether, but Tether is not unfriendly. It just wants some air or some ribeye steak. And that's the one I happen to have open because I'm about to write the wine club notes about Tether. I think 200 or 300 cases of it were made. Tiny production. This is the kind of thing we like to show you Red Collector Club members. Small production stuff. And wow, what a nose already. You owe it to yourself to decant this wine and have it soon, because I think you're going to race right back here upon tasting it and get some more Tether. Like I said, Mario's from Trinchero, Mario's Cabernet. It's the more easygoing, rich, delicious, amply oaked wine. It's really lovely. This is the wine that challenged you a little, only with its structure, but man, it's classically Napa. I'm swallowing that. It's got cassis. You know what cassis is? It's a liqueur made out of blackcurrants. And we throw that name around a lot when we're describing Napa Valley Cabernets because it's a rather curious, it's fruit, but it's got a little tinge to it. And there's black fruits here, like blackberries, cherry, a sense of dark, like graphite, and I think that's the youthfulness of this wine, almost like a Bordeaux effect. It's really lovely. Tether. Wow. So, Red Collector Club members, look forward to that. I'm missing a bottle because oh yeah, the bottle we had up in front of you. This is the last thing I'll talk about, I promise. If I can keep Zect off my mind. This is Barua, and it's going to the World Class Club members. So, final wine. Sorry for the overlong video, but man, a lot of good things to talk about. And Zect on the brain. So, you've got Barua here. Get that off the brain. 85% Carignano. And the rest of it is a little bit of Merlot and a little bit of Cabernet. But the fact of the matter is, the cool thing about this wine is we rarely get a glimpse of nearly 100%, like varietal Carignano. Well, what is Carignano? Well, in Catalonia, Spain, it would be called Carignana. And in here in Sicily, I'm sorry, not Sicily, Sardinia. What an offense. I'm never going back to Sardinia. In Sardinia, where this is made, it's called Carignano. But you may know the name Carignan, or Carignan, if you will. We have some of the oldest vines in California, right up in Oakley here, and they are Carignan vines. And then we have Carignan growing in Lodi. We have Carignan growing up in Mendocino. More significantly, the south of France, eastern Spain, and here on the island of Sardinia, Carignan happens, whatever you want to call it. This is happening. Did I pour it yet? This is what happens when Jim has Zect. Okay, here we go. It might be another double pour it. Ooh, I love that nose. Carignan, what's my take on Carignan? What is the experience of Carignan? All I can do is relate the experience of going into the kitchen as a young kid while the parents were away, digging around in the cupboards and finding these beautifully wrapped enormous cubes of chocolate. I didn't really understand why baker's chocolate would be up in the spice cabinet. Baker's chocolate sounds delicious. I think I'll have a big bite. Well, of course, that stuff, which is fantastic ingredient for making brownies. If you ever make them from scratch, you should. It has no sugar in it, and it is like downright awful. Well, this is not awful, but there are connotations of that unsweetened chocolate in Carignan for me. Guess what I'm going to do now?